Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer, and today we have Sri, or I should say Dr. R Venkatesh. I need to get used to calling him Dr. MRV. Dr. R Venkatesh, and we are going to talk about two topics, very important topics. One is who is wrong, the governor or the government? And this is the case of what is happening in Tamil Nadu in the last 2 or 3 days. Nothing else is happening in the state of Tamil Nadu except this. Who is wrong? That's the question everybody is asking. And you know how everybody likes to talk about and give their own educated opinions. That's one. The other one is the economic crisis gripping Pakistan. So let's listen to Dr. MRV's take on how these two things are going to play out. Dr. MRV, namaskaram and welcome to PGurus channel. Can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, now, I was okay. Some 20 seconds I couldn't hear you.
Yeah. Go ahead, sir. Welcome to PGurus channel. How are you, sir?
Fine. It's a long time since I had come in, and so happy 2023 for your viewers and Makar Sankranti and Pongal, everything. And may the Lord guide us in 2023.
Thank you, sir. And first off, let us talk about what is being talked about for the last 48 hours in Tamil Nadu, which is who is right, who is wrong, the governor or the government. And this is like, every tea shop, every place where people are gathering, this is all that is being talked about. Now, there are things that our constitution has mandated about the relationship between the governor and the government. I'd like you to see, you are one of those unique people who has studied law. You are a chartered accountant. You understand business very well, and you're also an author, and you are a panelist. So you hear a lot more opinions than perhaps I do, and therefore you are in an excellent position now to perhaps tell our viewers what are the constitutional, how did the Constitution view the role of the governor and the state government. And in this particular case, then we can apply it. You can give us your take, sir. Take it away.
See, the framers of the Constitution presuppose that lumpen elements, rogues, and scoundrels will never come to power. And even if they come to power, they will behave in a decent and a well-meaning manner within the four corners of the Constitution. Here is a minister abusing the governor. Now, I'm not into anything what the governor did or the government did. I'll answer your question later. In the floor of the assembly, he virtually abuses the governor, hurls expletives. I think this is not done. This is definitely not done. The framers of the Constitution could not have foreseen that here would be a minister, a senior minister of the Tamil Nadu government, hurling expletives and abuses on the governor. Now, what is the remedy that the founding fathers of the Constitution could have foreseen? They could have foreseen nothing, because they would have never imagined a scenario where people in power will behave so irresponsibly and without any let or fear of law. That is my first take. As far as this confrontation between the state government and the Honorable Governor is concerned, it has been brewing for some time. I think the state government has been provoking the governor, and the governor has responded in kind by provoking the state government. It takes two to a tango. And I think both of them have played their role in provoking each other to perfection. The culmination was the events in the assembly, unfortunate events in the assembly, which I think should have been avoided by both sides. But it was waiting to happen. Let us be very clear. If people did not foresee that this is what it could actually explode, they were in the wrong. It was waiting to happen, and it was no surprise to people like me that this is what has happened. Now, coming back to the specific issue that you have raised, who is right and who is wrong. Now, as far as the government of the day is concerned, it can make some policies and make the governor read out those policies. It is very difficult to believe that the governor should not read what the government has written it for him. Actually, he is the head of the government. It is usually the governors say that it is my government has brought in this welfare scheme or that welfare scheme or done this or that, did not do this or responded like this and did not respond like this. So this is how governors usually do. But to believe that the governor is basically a stenographer and he would be reduced to reading your written script loudly in the assembly or as in the case of the parliament, the president, I think it would be doing violence to the constitution. Because let us assume, and day is not far off, when one state government is going to say we want to secede from this country. Hypothetically, this can happen. And this will happen sooner than what we believe. And in that case, is the governor duty bound to read what is there in the script, or should he say, I'm sorry, I am not going to read the written script? This is the dilemma. Now, the framers of the constitution believed that the government of the day would not push itself to the extreme and embarrass the governor. And the office of the governor comes with it certain dignity and a constitutional, shall I say, indemnity. And on both counts, whether the governor is right or not, I remember the famous words of 𝙤𝙧𝙤𝙪, who said the action of the governor is not justiciable. Now, who are we to say the governor is right or wrong, because the constitution does not give that right even to the courts. Even the Supreme Court cannot come back and say this is right or wrong. Supreme Court has to take the decision, yes, this is what is the governor has taken. There is no penal provisions on the governor. So that brings us to the issue of the government. Now, the government has been partly right in my view and partly wrong. There are certain bills that the government wants to press and bring it. Now, this is the will of the people. Now, we can't have the governor sitting on it for eternity. But I am also making my position very clear that I am ignorant of the reason as to why the governor is sitting on this. Because there could be any number of reasons why the governor is sitting on this, because he wants to have his own consultations. And there are certain bills which are pending with the president and with certain governors for several years. Nobody has questioned this. So whether the governor should approve within a time frame is an issue that the constitution has left it deliberately void, I would say, or deliberately vague. And I hope better sense prevails on both sides. And somewhere down the line, people will see reason and step back and diffuse this constitutional crisis that has been brewing in this state. It's an ugly sight to see the chief minister and the governor sparring over nothing. Of course, I should also say that the DMK is genetically endowed with abilities to provoke constitutional authorities. They have a knack of provoking constitutional authorities, and they somewhere down the line they want only pliant governors like SS Barnala, who wouldn't, despite overwhelming evidence that Karunanidhi was hobnobbing with terrorists, would not recommend president's rule in 1990, and it took Dr. Swamy to override him and impose Article 356 by reading 356 in a very beautiful manner, because on the report of the governor or otherwise, you invoke the otherwise clause. That is, even without the governor, you can do it. But Supreme Court has done also its own part in all these things. I must take this position here, that after the Bommai judgment, Article 356 has been reduced to a dead letter in the constitution. Virtually, it is impossible for the state. I am not saying that Tamil Nadu is right for 356. I am not saying that 356 must be imposed. But I am saying theoretically tomorrow, and in a hypothetical situation in state X, the central government wants to import 356. Given the fractured polity that is being practiced in Delhi, where Congress and BJP don't seem to come together on anything, and major political parties seem to have divergent views, I think we are opening ourselves to a Pandora's box when a state may be crying for a need of 356, and the central would not be able to impose it. I think Supreme Court has to find a via media. It cannot be the Indira Gandhi days of overthrowing elected governments in the states on a rampant basis, nor should it come to a state where your Article 356 is a dead letter. It must come with its own checks and balances. Probably the Supreme Court suo motu can, I'm sure some of the judges are also watching your program, will definitely take a call whether this can be looked into by the Supreme Court on a suo motu basis and probably take a call on what is to be done and what is not to be done, especially on the 𝙤𝙖 judgment. This is my view, sir, overarching view about what has happened in Tamil Nadu.
Thank you very much, Dr. MRV. Viewers, a small request. All your questions, please put hashtag AskMRV, one word. And also, please like this video as soon as you open it or as soon as you start seeing it, so it has the best chance for going viral. We have got a specialist who can look at the same thing from various angles. And Dr. MRV is one of those unique people who can do that part. And his wisdom here is very priceless. And I mean, I'm not doing Mukhastuti, sir. I know people may think, oh, this guy is just buttering up Dr. MRV. Both of us know each other for a long time, and we don't need to do any such thing. Now, we are not politicians, and we are just in pursuit of knowledge. Now, one question that keeps cropping up in my mind whenever I hear the SR 𝙤𝙖 judgment, what exactly was the new proviso that the Supreme Court introduced in the judgment that makes it virtually impossible for the center to dismiss a state government, sir?
That it has to be ratified by both houses of the parliament. So now, of course, BJP is in a very strong position even in the Rajya Sabha. But it has also put in a question of morality. There will be certain states, state governments, for instance, like YSR Reddy's Congress in Andhra Pradesh, or even the AIADMK in Rajya Sabha in the case of Tamil Nadu, or even Biju Janata Dal, Mamta Banerjee. They may all be ready to vote along with the government for something else, but they would be worried to support this government on an issue. Akali Dal, for instance, they may support this government on something else, though they may not be part of the NDA now. They are technically also not in the opposition. They are in an in-between space, like Biju Janata Dal, YSR Congress, Akali Dal. All these are people, Mayawati, all these people do not actually vote against the government or vote for the government on all issues. They may partly vote, sometimes partly vote against the government. And 356 will be one such issue where they will say that federalism, these are people who use the word federalism very rampantly. And they would say that, look, you are making an attack, it's an affront on the federal structure of the constitution, and we would not support you on this issue. So the government of the day will find itself suddenly being reduced to some sort of a minority in the Rajya Sabha. And they don't want, and usually politicians don't like to have a defeat in the upper house or the lower house. They like to, you may presume you are in the majority, so that presumption they don't want to rebut it by actual voting. So a Mayawati who, say, let us assume tomorrow Karnataka demands president rule. Now, how does it bother Akhilesh or Akali Dal or Mamta or Biju? They would believe that if it can happen to Karnataka tomorrow, it can happen to them. So they would always take a position of, placing personal political requirements and political shortcuts far above the requirement of the nation. So to them, Orissa or Andhra or UP is far more important than the nation. So to that extent, you may find that this 𝙤𝙖 judgment is unworkable by saying that you have to have probably a vote along both the houses. One way out is to remove the Rajya Sabha out of the equation. Say that you must secure a majority in the Lok Sabha. Probably that is a very good way. Why should Rajya Sabha be brought into it? Why Rajya Sabha? Why not? Why, after all, Lok Sabha is the issue that is answerable to the people directly. Let 356 be tested in the floor of Lok Sabha. Let it be a free voting without whips and other things being imposed. Let there be a via media on this, and let us go and see whether MPs believe Article 356 has to be imposed on state governments or not, states or not. That could be a one way out of the imbroglio.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, you mentioned something in passing at the very beginning of your speech, which was that one of the ministers of the DMK government hurled expletives at the departing governor. I'm wondering if it's the same person who was shaking his hand and making some gestures.
Sir, I would not say anything except that his name resembles the first Prime Minister of this country, and nothing more, nothing less.
Viewers, if you don't know the answer to what Dr. MRV just said, go and look at the list of cabinet ministers of Tamil Nadu and you'll get the answer. Thank you very much, sir. Now let's take a look at the second part of our discussion today, which is O Pakistan. It is, of course, the shameless copy from plagiarism from O Jerusalem, written by two very famous authors who also wrote about freedom at midnight, Larry Collins and Dominique Lapierre. Now, Dr. MRV, there are now claims that Pakistan has shored up to $8 billion. They're saying it's all aid. That means it doesn't have to be, paid back. But all these things are coming without any provisos. What's your read on the situation?
See, the unraveling of Pakistan is happening right before us. And it is a matter of great worry. It must be a great matter of worry for the entire world that a nuclear power is actually disintegrating and economically collapsing. I have no words, or again, it was basically a paradox that's happening, that a nuclear power is disintegrating economically. Again, people would not have foreseen such a thing. So the West believes that they can continue this bleeding of Pakistan, but keep it alive also by infusing more aid and keeping it alive. I am told that official website point out that Pakistan has got a foreign exchange reserve of less than $5 billion, and it has more than
existing reserve is $5 billion, and they're claiming that they got $8 billion now.
And they are getting 8 billion now as aid, so that would put it as 13. But if you ask me whether what is going to be the immediate payment requirement of Pakistan in the next 2-3 months to run its fuel bill, to run its debts, interest obligation, if not repayment of principal, I don't think so. The Pakistan would survive probably a year economically, and the way inflation is soaring and there is hardly anything there, and they have to have the elections also coming up very shortly, and Pakistan will face a crisis sooner than later. But this crisis I am not going to celebrate, though I know that this is going to come sooner than later. And anything bad in Pakistan is always a cause of celebration in India. But
no, it also has ripples, right? It will also create ripples in India. Yeah.
In India. And not only in India, it will create instability across the nation. And the first one is the nuclear one. The second one is that Pakistan is not a typical South Asian nation. It is a conjured up geography, it is a political entity by Jinnah. And there are 4 or 5 entities in Pakistan which have been cobbled together to create the idea of Pakistan. One is, of course, the northwest provinces. One is, of course, the Karachi side, what we call as Sindh side. Then there is Balochistan. Then there is the Punjab side. So 3 or 4 of Pakistan have been sworn, and they have created a patch magic called Pakistan. Now, all the 4 are having issues against each other. And there are fault lines, severe fault lines. The Punjabis would never, the domination of the Punjabis over all the other 3 regions is well known. And not a day passes when Balochis are fighting the Pakistani forces and they are taking them head on. Then there is this Sindh province, which always had, it had an issue whether to join India or not, and it was compelled to join Pakistan by force of circumstances. And then, of course, you have this Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Now, see, technically speaking, this could be the best way out for India to at least snatch Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, because there is so much of confusion within Pakistan. When you are not able to feed your own people within Balochistan and Pakistan and so many other places, I don't think so they are able to manage POK. I think we have bled them dry. And today we will see that shortly that it would be one of those rare instances where India would be sitting on a sweet spot, and we can definitely talk about whether we can take back POK. Of course, there are other ramifications, and the experts are there to think about it. And there are security forces, there are diplomats. I'm only putting in a view that it is a sweet spot, at least from a superficial analysis of the entire game plan. So to that extent, Pakistan has degenerated. And this degeneration is going to go back to worse. And I would be surprised sooner than later that Pakistan may implode, meaning there could be some radical elements within the Pak army taking over. A coup is always on in Pakistan. On a daily basis, you can take a bet that from now on, whether Pakistan will undergo a coup, martial law imposed, currency, currency controls being brought in, foreign tourists asked to vacate within 48 hours, no planes allowed to land and take off from Karachi and Lahore airports. So many things which we are used to. And it's almost a decade since Pakistan has not undergone a coup. So it's almost that it's waiting to happen. And once it happens, again, the whole cycle starts when the West will start yielding to the official terrorists who have taken over Pakistan, and they will again pump in, IMF would pump in, World Bank would pump in, and they will try to conjure some idea of an economic plan and a package that will keep Pakistan running for the next 5-7 years. But before the West interferes, I think we may have a sweet spot. And that sweet spot presents to us probably in the run-up to 2024. And we are also politically, 2024, Modi may be inclined to do something, surgical strike or to take over POK. But the only damn thing is that China may also look at the whole thing, and every single army man in India knows that they have to fight a two-front war if they have to take over POK. So I would say that the implosion of Pakistan is imminent. The nuclear powers in the West and the global powers are keeping it alive for their own selfish reason. One of them is to pinprick India. And it is Pakistan which goes on keeping a gun to its temple and demands aid and soft loans. I think time has come to call its bluff. Time has come to ensure that POK is brought back to India. The second step would be, of course, to take on Balochistan. It's easier said than all these are armchair. We are all armchair people. We don't know much about exactly what is the issue on the ground. But having said this, I think that this is the sweetest spot that Indian agencies, Indian army, Indian establishment is facing against Pakistan in a long time. I think after 1971, I think this must be the sweetest time India is having against Pakistan.
Thank you very much, sir. I was just lining up the questions now. And here's the first question. Magnet Ranga wants to know, Namaskaram and happy Pongal. Is it possible that the DMK is emboldened as the Modi government has shown no inclination to use Article 356 against any state government?
See, as I said, 356 is a dead letter in the constitution, thanks to 𝙒𝙗𝙖𝙦 judgment. Now, and also, Modi government has been reluctant. I won't say that not shown any inclination. They are reluctant to use 356 against any state government for their own political calculations. They don't think 356 should be allowed, should be used so often. Probably the calculation of the Modi government is that let me not make a hero out of Stalin at this point in time. Already in Chennai, and in the corridors of power, the whisper is that this must be the only government, or probably one of the very few governments, which has earned the wrath of the people within 18 months of getting elected. Its popularity is nosediving faster than the Pakistani rupee. And if we allow this to happen, and there will be a definite calculation on part of Modi ji and his team, that allow them to continue like this till, say, 2024 May. And probably they would be eyeing at 20-25 seats, which is what now the buzz in Chennai and other places is, that BJP and its alliance has got a good chance of 20 to 25 seats in Tamil Nadu at this point in time. And if they do their homework well, they could get it. And one of the important pointers in the homework would be allow the DMK to continue. Allow the DMK to continue. Don't disturb it. Why do you disturb? Why? If you do something, probably you have to have an election at 12 months down the line. 356 allows you to have an election maximum 12 months. And by January 2024, you may have to have an election of the state government. Why bring back? Why do you disturb this? On the contrary, DMK government is highly corrupt. There is too much of Gundaism. There is too much of nepotism. The arrival of Stalin's son in the cabinet of Stalin, the state government's cabinet, is viewed very negatively by the DMK loyalists. So there is huge amount of heartburn. There are people who are disenchanted within the DMK. I'm not talking outside. I'm talking about DMK. Within the DMK, there are multiple factions. In fact, I think Cho Ramaswamy or somebody said words to this effect. Usually people, political parties have many factions. And he said in the case of DMK, it is a DMK first family which has several factions. So there are several factions which control the government, and each one is playing on to the son doesn't see eye to eye with the son-in-law. Then there is an aunt. Then there is an estranged brother. It's a very complex family. So each one is trying to outdo the other, outsmart the other. And it is this idea that we will place the family interest above the party's interest and the party's interest above nation's interest or the state's interest. That has been the DMK's political tagline. And to be fair to them, they have survived for the last 50, 60 years using this formula. But I think the people now are seeing that this formula is redundant and they are not very happy with this formula. I sincerely believe that DMK has overused this formula, and people are to some extent cut up with them. And already there is a sign of anti-incumbency visible with the DMK. That they have been able to contrive and conjure an anti-incumbency within 18 months is simply amazing. And they have not fulfilled any of the poll promises, and they are refusing to implement some of their announcements. And some of the announcements like NEET, we will abolish NEET and other things. They have been filibustering, and 18 months they have now gone into silence. They have not taken any action. And to cover up their action, they are now taking on the governor, who has outsmarted them in several ways, and has kept them in a tight leash. With being an intelligence man, he has outsmarted the DMK government several times over. So the anger and angst is palpable, and they are visible to everybody. And the DMK's days as a potent political force is getting numbered by many. And that is why I feel that this is all a manifestation of their anger, even against the governor, is only a reflection of their lack of confidence in their own self. And 2024, I think they are in for a rude political shock.
And the next question is from Rohit Murali. What about implementing economically weaker sections, reservations in Tamil Nadu?
See, Tamil Nadu is one state which believes in hyperbole and has no clue about doing certain things the way the constitution or the law mandates. And I think the total reservation in the state is 69%, which is challenged, and it is not even cleared with the Supreme Court. Years have passed, decades have passed, so many children have lost their opportunity. And even on EWS, I don't think so this state government is going to implement, notwithstanding the fact that it has been upheld by the Supreme Court. So this is going to be another confrontation with several communities and several castes that this government has taken on itself. I don't see why they would be doing this. On the contrary, I see that they may even try to bring in some sort of a reservation for Muslims and Christians, and try to negate this. This confrontation is polarizing atmosphere by the DMK will continue for the next couple of years till 2024.
Thank you, Dr. MRV. The next question is, Supreme Court clearly stated governor's role, and unfortunately, governor has again failed, is it not? I think that's what he means.
Okay. There is nothing that the governor has failed. You don't expect governor to be a Superman, to come with some, do something, bash some people and get away. Governor has also to uphold the office of governorship. He has to uphold his own office, the dignity of his own office. He cannot be rampant. He cannot do things the way you want it to be done. He will do it, and he will do it in a way that would be constitutionally acceptable, legally tenable, and also that would give dignity to the office that he occupies. And I'm sure the governor is conscious about what he's doing and what he's not doing. And despite the fact, I had also expressed my reservations that there is something that he has to respond, especially on the bills. But apart from that, to nitpick on governor whenever he goes and speaks, and if he speaks or quotes Swami Vivekananda, for instance, the DMK somehow feels very offended about it. I don't know what is so offensive about quoting Swami Vivekananda, or talking about certain things that he feels which is close to his heart, on culture, on civilizational values, on Tamil and Tamil pride and other things, which I don't know why the DMK is unable to digest. So, Supreme Court has not only stated the governor's role, the constitution is very clear. The president's role is also very clear. Unfortunately, the corrosive and toxic atmosphere prevailing in the state does not allow the constitutional authorities to function in a manner known to the law. That is my humble submission here. It is for the government of the day to understand what it is doing and not adopt a confrontationist approach. The governor technically is right under the constitution because his acts are not justiciable. So we have to hold that position as a pole position and then start modifying and fashioning our responses to the governor's role accordingly, to see that role is protected, or that role is given the due place in the constitutional hierarchy. Unfortunately, this government is repeatedly nitpicking on the governor and lowering the dignity, and that is expected also. And I hope the governor will do what it takes to put this government into its own place.
Next question, Raja Raman wants to know, ask MRV, can central government warn or take some punitive action against the states like Tamil Nadu for misbehaving with governor who is a constitution head?
Yes, there are provisions under the constitution. The central government can send missives, 255, 355 article. Both are very clear. The state government can be, they can send some missives. They can tell them what it is to be done, what is not to be done. But do you think that the DMK government is going to be worried about these things? They will use that letter as some sort of a tissue paper and throw it into the waste paper basket. They are not going to be bothered, because unless the central government is empowered with some sort of 356, they are not going to be worried about it. So my view is, again, central government can warn, but whether the warning will fall and will be taken to a logical conclusion is $1 billion question.
Mode E, I'm not going to ask you a question because that is not in this topic, so we can take it up at some other day. Let's go to Magnet Ranga's question. Namaskaram and happy Pongal. Is it all possible that DMK is emboldened by the fact that Modi government has shown disinclination to use Art 356 against any state government?
I think we have answered this question.
I think he may have repeated. Magnet, you repeated yourself. Next one from Ashok. Sorry about that, sir. Ashok wants to know, why is BJP government silent on 2G and many cases with DMK?
Now, I find it very, very difficult to answer this question. This must be the toughest question I am facing, or the second toughest question. The first one is, why is the BJP government not taking action on Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, etc. in the national matter? Unfortunately, I was involved, and I'm involved in both the matters. Probably that is the only reason I can see that this BJP government not be very keen to take action on both the DMK and the Congress stalwarts. Now, apart from this, I have a feeling that I am revising my opinion. Let me be very frank with you. After the great Rahul Gandhi talked about Pandavas, and in Pandavas' time there was no multi-millionaires. Today's latest Gyan from the great Tapasvi. Okay. Now, I think BJP will do well in the next elections if it preserves Rahul Gandhi and allows him to campaign. And when he campaigns, don't expect him to campaign for the Congress. He's actually campaigning for the BJP. And every time he opens his mouth, I think BJP believes that it will get 5 to 10 seats more. So it wants his chief campaigner to be on the run. You don't want your chief campaigner to be inside Tihar. You want him to do this campaigning. You want to see that they destroy themselves by their own action. Nothing gives an opponent the greatest joy in any war is to see the self-destruction of an opponent. And that is what BJP is now currently enjoying. It's in a very happy position, and it must be the luckiest prime minister, I think, on the entire history of democratically elected government must be Narendra Modi, because we see in Rahul Gandhi the self-destruction program manifesting day in and day out, and killing Congress and destroying brick by brick. By taking any action, BJP believes that they would actually create a martyr out of a dead hero. They don't want a dead hero. They want a living villain who would help them. And that explains why both TUG and as far as National Herald is concerned, this is my simpliciter analysis. And that if the government of, I don't believe that the government of the day is incompetent. If they would want to jail me or jail Iyer, they will do it by 9:45. 6-7 minutes from now, they will do it. Okay. So they have the potency and they have the courts that will say that yes, MRV is a terrorist and Iyer is a money launderer. Simply, and we will be inside for 6-8 months. So no questions asked. But
when I'm guilty. I'm wearing black and white.
Yeah. So that's the reason that you look more like a money launderer and I look more like a terrorist in my T-shirt. So and jokes apart, the Congress party has played into the hands of the BJP by propelling and propagating Rahul Gandhi. And in case of 2G, they know for a fact that DMK in power will always create self-destruction for themselves. DMK has never been able to retain power. And within 1 or 2 years, they somehow or the other, they have this anti-incumbency and they begin to lose the confidence of the people. So on both counts, I think the calculation is let them enjoy where they are and let us enjoy the fruits of their incompetency or their fallacies. And we are best, we are endowed with the sweetest possible position in democratic history, and we will win the fruits and we'll get all the fruits of their idiocies.
Kadiravan Muthukrishnan wants to know, is there any necessity to read exactly what the government has drafted?
I have explained this in the opening remarks, that there is no necessity for the governor to read exactly what the government has drafted. But if he is going to skip something, it must be again something which stands the test of reason. He cannot, on a whimsical plane, take a view that I will not read out the welfare schemes of the government. He cannot, for instance, say that I will not read what all you have done to measures taken by the government on, say, drought or a flood position of the state. No, he can't do that. But if the government writes something that we want to secede from India or we want to back somebody who's a controversial, supposing the Maharashtra government says that I want to back the Islamic guy who ran away from India. What is his name?
Zakir Naik.
Zakir Naik. Suppose they say that we want to build something for Zakir Naik and do this thing. The government say, the hell with you, you and your politics. I don't want to actually read or eulogize Zakir Naik. So I think the governor has a very narrow compass of refusing to abide by what the government writes. But by and large, I think he must write something. He must read what the government of the day has asked him to read. And if there is something, now this opens a very important position. If there is something or some policies which is very uncomfortable with, I think he must start making reports. And these reports are confidential. I don't think so. On an RTI, you can get the governor's report to the government, central government. I'm sure the central government will be asking the governor for various reports, and he would have reported about the functioning of the DMK government, not only on the corruption or the expletives hurled at him, on several other policy issues which are confrontationist to the central government. Now, what the central government will do and how they will do it is something that we'll have to wait and see.
Thank you very much, sir. And next question is an interesting one. Raghunandan wants to know, do we need POK? Because the people of POK were the one who handed over the pilot of MiG-21. Your views. Emmanuel, you want to take a shot at this?
Yeah, see, now we have to take POK, not only POK, we have to take Akhanda Bharat. Now that will come along with the people. It won't come with a package that there won't be any people, but you want to take over the land. POK was the people of POK handed over Vardhaman, the pilot Vardhaman, I think Wing Commander Vardhaman, to the Pak Army, but we got him back within 24-36 hours. So that's not a big issue about what it is. So I think that that's not the issue. That's a very smaller order of smalls. When we go for a larger issue, POK is genuinely belonging to India. It belongs to the erstwhile Jammu and Kashmir state, and we have to take it. And these are things that will come with it as an attendant package. We have to deal with it accordingly.
Thank you, sir. And the next question is from Karthik Vishwanathan. Can center not bring right to recall bill applicable to both MPs and MLAs? Meaning, like, if somebody misbehaves.
Yeah, it can. It should. In a democracy, people should say that let us have some sort of an right to recall. But all these things may be suiting some small municipalities or small countries like Greenland and Iceland and Denmark and Norway, small countries. Can it, if supposing you want to recall, say, your MLA, now when do you do it? 2.5 years down the line? Okay. How do you conduct an election? You want to say, I want to bring him, recall him. So at least 51% has to vote saying that you have to recall. So everybody, you have to conduct a mini election. And only then you can get it done. It's a very torturous process. So you are saying that there must be 2 elections. Instead of 1 every 5 years, you are asking for 2 every 5 years. 1 for nominating, 1 for recalling. Now the answer is, you have recalled. Let us assume that you have recalled your MLA. Who would you elect in his stead? Will that seat be empty? Or will you get somebody nominated? Or how do you fill the vacancy? These are questions for which we don't have an answer. Democracy, that's why it's not the perfect mechanism, but it offers a modicum of some sort of stability, some sort of acceptability. We have put in certain things which we, despite its lacunas, despite its shortcomings, we have come to accept it. So learn to accept the system as it is. Now, whether you are voting out the person who after 5 years has not delivered to you, and why don't you throw him out? I think that would be a better way of doing it. Of course, you have to wait for 5 years. But the fear that somebody will get thrown out after 5 years will make them perform. Instead of 2.5 years, things will, and for all that, he may come back after the next 2.5 years. So, yes, this is one thing we need to debate, but we don't think that have a perfect answer to this.
Venkatesan Kirapandal wants to know, can't center split the state instead of invoking Article 356?
So split the state is not so easy. You know what happened, even the latest one, which was Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, which got split. Too much of issues that were there. It has to be approved by the parliament. Then the assembly of the state which is getting split has to pass the resolutions, and that has to be an act. Telangana Creation Act or something like that is there. State of Telangana Act. That has to be passed. And then all these things only will allow. So it is more torturous than 356, imposing 356. And it is not lesser. So you will have to find out via media where 356 is revived, but 356 cannot be used at the drop of the hat.
There are more questions, but these are not on topics of yours. Please excuse us. We are going to wrap it up now. Thank you very much, Dr. MRV, and we will be revisiting this topic in a few weeks, I presume, because DMK wouldn't just like that pick it up. They knew a lot of things were going to go wrong even before these things started. Why? Because the 6th, they gave the speech to the governor. The governor raised some questions and sent it back on 7th. They said, and the governor says their office has the proof, that we have already printed and you can make the changes, but the printed will go as is. So if that is proved, that basically means that these guys wanted to create some politics out of this. So that's all I can tell you. Dr. MRV, thank you once again, sir. And please, viewers, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. 1 second.